support of disabled students attending Trinity. So we're based in Printing House Square, which is part of Trinity's campus, and it's a group of professionals who will go into in next slide, but are non-teaching members of staff and are there to advocate for students and to ensure that all disabled students have an accessible experience in college. All right, so the staff at Trinity Disability Service. So I'll go through this in terms of who you would meet throughout your experience with it. So first you'll have a disability officer. So once you register with the disability service, you'll be assigned a disability officer. They will work with you to identify the necessary accommodations. So these accommodations we'll speak about further on in the presentation, but this is done through a needs assessment, which sounds quite daunting, but it's really not. It's just to talk through maybe the accommodations that would suit you the best, depending on your disability or the supports required. They will then advocate on your behalf with your school of choice or your course of choice, in case there's anything in relation to your disability that needs to be discussed with the school. And then we have a set of 4 or 6 occupational therapists now. The role of occupational therapists in college can differ if you have seen one prior for maybe in school or when you were younger. So the role of OT in college is to help manage the student role. So this can be done through routine formation, workload management, and engaging in social leisure activities. So OTs can be helpful for your transition into college. Obviously, it's a daunting thing in general without even thinking about the academic side. So they can help with that transition, looking at the occupation of a student role. And then we have an academic support specialist. So this is for if you're maybe struggling with meeting deadlines or kind of constructing maybe an essay or doing up lab reports. We have an academic support specialist specifically for students with disabilities to help perform in their academics to the best of their ability. So we have Fionn, who is our academic support specialist. And then finally, we have our mental health social worker. So Kirsten works here to help students connect with other services across Trinity and externally. We might talk more about that, just what her role is further on. Again, if anyone has any questions about the roles in the disability service specific to what we just mentioned there, please put them in the chat and we'll answer them, no problem. So then we have who can register with the disability service. I think Fwelon might chat about this a bit.
Yep, just checking you can hear me, Sav.
Yep.
Perfect. Yep. So basically, so when you register with the disability service, as kind of similar to the way you've probably gone in through the DARE scheme already, though there are basically disability categories, and obviously there's a list of them, about 10 of them just there. So autism, ADHD, mental health, significant ongoing illness, blind visual impairment, deaf, hard of hearing, dyspraxia, DCD, specific learning difficulties, neurological condition, and then physical disability. Those are the 10 fairly broad and kind of all-encompassing categories as you're registering. The kind of what's nice with the categories is that obviously it's really helpful for like the disability service to basically figure out, I guess, to quite quickly kind of put you in the right direction for kind of what support services can be provided and all that good stuff. So it's a pretty important part right at the beginning of your kind of registration process.
Perfect. And then, okay, so we'll move on to, I think, probably the most important part of what supports the disability service offer. So first we'll start with placement on this wheel. So placement, so if people don't know what placement is, for professional courses such as medicine or dentistry or occupational therapy, students will go on placement, which is kind of like work experience which is required in their course. So placement supports are put into place for students with disabilities. So the disability service will have a certain number of accommodations for students uh, that require them for if they're working in a in work experience. And then we have a special program called the Inclusive Internship Program. This is for disabled students who may want to gain work experience and might have found it difficult in the past to start working in a place. So it happens during every summer. And if you need more information about that, I'm sure Angelina will put that in the chat. And then once again, meeting deadlines. We talked about this already, but occupational therapy. So it could be that you might be struggling with maybe getting assignments in on time. And then therefore you might need help with maybe setting up a routine or an organizer. And then we have academic support, which we talked about already again. So the academic support officer might give you maybe special tools to help with maybe if it's to do with your dissertation or essays. And then the third category of support is doing exams. So this is probably one of the most important ones. So doing exams, what we help with is called reasonable accommodations, which are supports that are put in place. So this is specifically to do with exams, and then we have in-course assessment accommodations as well. So with doing exams, we have additional time, which is if you're taking an exam, you'll usually get more time than others, just in case it's needed for maybe taking breaks or if you have maybe processing difficulties. Then we have different venues options. So we have a low distraction venue, which is uh, usually has less people in it. You might see some students or some pictures of people in massive exam halls. Usually, if you're registered with the disability service, you'll be in a low distraction venue or maybe a group venue, which means there's less people in it. There's usually kind of supports there to ensure it's low distraction. It's usually a smaller room as well. And then assistive technology. So one thing that wasn't mentioned earlier in the staff and the disability service is our assistive technology officer, Andrew. So assistive technology is essentially technology that uses that's to ensure that all to ensure that things are made more accessible. So, for example, we have a website or a web page that has all of the apps and tools that are recommended for students with disabilities. So, during your needs assessment, you'll more than likely be granted these assistive technologies. So these include, say, could have an immersive reader. So it might be if you've difficulty reading, it's a text to speech app, and then we have dictation app. So if you have difficulty writing or typing, you have a dictation app which will be granted to you. And then other apps that help with maybe speech feedback or word prediction if you've difficulty spelling. And then again, Andrew is in charge of assistive technology, and if there's more maybe complex needs, then he will be in contact with you about those. Say if you may need require a laptop in exams, for example. Again, if you have any questions about that, feel free to ask us. I know Angelina just put the website in the chat anyways. And then moving on, I think Fuelan might take over for the rest of them.
Yep, absolutely. So, yeah, obviously, well, college, the core reason why you're there, of course, is for the academic side of things, to do your course and so on. But it's also equally important, or depending on who you ask, more important, that you also have a social and personal kind of growth and, therefore support in those areas. So, for example, the next section here, which is meeting other students. So obviously within the kind of the like disability service, we kind of have some offerings in terms of say peer support groups which are actually run by the service. So these peer support groups are usually have been around particular the disability categories, such as, for example, like an autism support group or an ADHD support group. And basically, obviously, those are, usually weekly run groups where you basically can just go and kind of, in a nice, very accessible manner, essentially meet other people, other students. And it's a great place for making friends. I can definitely attest to that. Also, there's other things as well, like cookery groups, and of course, then there's a neurodiversity society. So Trinity has quite a lot of societies, and there is a society for neurodiverse students, or just for the topic, to discuss the topic of neurodiversity generally, I guess. Then there's also, along with that, other groups too, such as the Ability Co-op, which is an advocacy group for disabled students, and all run by students as well, which is all good fun. Of course, then, so the next section, which is managing my environment. So the environment is, of course, really important. And in somewhere like Trinity, which is in the middle of the city center, it can obviously be quite an overwhelming, it can be very easily an overwhelming environment. So it's very important to know where stuff is. So for example, TCD Sense helps with that by establishing specific areas based on certain functions, like there's a quiet space over here, there's a respite room over there. You can book them, you can go there. Different area, different zones based on different functionalities and uses. And also there's a map which allows you to basically find those spaces. So that's really useful because it can be quite a lot, and there's a lot going on that campus. So looking at the environmental, managing your environment is very important. But along with that, obviously, then there's of course additional needs, various accommodations, 1916 bursary, and then safe zone as well, which is another kind of system and such. So lots of good stuff to look into. Um, of course, then there's looking after yourself. So the disability service provides like occupational therapy. There's again social work, and there's lots of other college supports, lots of them. So from here, at least we can probably signpost you towards those other supports that you could look for, which is therefore, yeah, it's a good place to start anyway. But there's definitely lots of supports available. So you'll find whatever you're looking for here.
Perfect.
So,
Thanks, Raylan. Okay, so we'll move on. So this slide is I know that many of you might not necessarily know if you're going to Trinity, so I might breeze past this slide because I'm not expecting you to take in all of the information, and it's all available on our website and broken down easily. But I might just go through the kind of registration process that happens when you come to Trinity. So I know for DARE students, you must register with the Disability Service. It's part of the kind of clause of being a DARE student. So what happens is when you accept your offer to Trinity, if you accept your offer, you'll receive a TCD email or like a login for the portal. And then you'll have a My Disability Service application tab. And this is where you put in information about your disability. And if you have multiple, you can put that in too. And then you can choose whether you want to receive exam accommodations or not. I think what's most important here is the evidence of disability. So I know there are DARE students on this, but there's also students who might not be coming through DARE, who might just have a disability. So I might get Angelina, who is the senior disability officer here in Trinity Disability Service, to talk more about what kind of evidence can be uploaded to register.
Sure, thanks, Live. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay, so if you are a DARE student, you can upload as part of your application the DARE evidence of disability that you would have submitted to them. That will be accepted as evidence of disability for us. If you're not a DARE student, but you have a letter or report from your medical professional that states your diagnosis, you can upload this as evidence of disability. And if you don't have that, we do have an evidence of disability form on our webpage, and I'll put the link into the chat in just a minute, that you can bring to your medical professional, and they can fill that out, and then you can use that to upload as evidence of disability. It will just ask the questions that we need to know in order to best support you here in Trinity with your disability and the supports that we offer.
Perfect. Thank you, Angelina. Okay, and we'll move on to talk more importantly, or nearly most importantly, for if anyone is coming to the disability service this year, or to Trinity more so, about the orientations that specifically for disabled students that we offer. So, Fwailon, I think you are going to talk a bit about this. So I
You're
think
on
you're on
mute,
mute.
Fwailon.
Sorry, Fwailon.
Good catch, good catch. Excellent. Yeah, no, sorry. So basically, yes. So there's orientations or kind of pre-orientation events here, because obviously teaching starts kind of, I think now in the kind of mid-September for first years. So it's quite good to kind of spend that couple of weeks before term begins to actually get kind of, like understand, get familiar with the campus and so on. So I think yeah, from here basically, so there's specifically the neurodivergent orientation sessions on the either September kind of 3rd and 5th, and then September 11th, sorry, 10th and 11th. And then there's actually a general orientation, kind of getting to know the disability service itself. So, basically an I speak in person kind of version of this essentially, basically on actually September 12th itself. So orientations are obviously really important, as there's a great way to kind of just kind of get comfortable with getting into the campus and kind of getting around, and also it's a lovely way to also meet other students as well who are in a similar situation. So definitely recommended. Absolutely. Thanks, Hev.
Perfect. Thank you, Wailon. So, I think Angelina said there, but the dates will be updated on the website shortly, but you can scan this QR code as well to go to that part of the website, but it's also in the chat. And if you have any questions after this presentation that might come to you after, please don't hesitate to contact us. No question is too silly. We are here to answer whatever is needed. I know it can be a daunting experience starting college, especially with a disability. So we're always here to contact. So we have our email there. You can also phone us there. We also have a drop-in which happens during term time. This is for people who might not have scheduled an appointment but want to speak to a disability officer about questions they may have with registering. That is, I think, believe 12 till 2 every day, every weekday during term time. And then we obviously have our socials as well. But if anyone has any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat and we'll try our best to answer them. If you have any questions in relation to dare places or offers, we actually have nothing to do with that, unfortunately. So you would need to ask academic registry just in relation to maybe dare allocations or places that are offered or Trinity offers in general. So someone asked who will be able to access our proof of disability form. So it's confidential, so it's only the disability service staff will be able to access that.
Yeah, I feel like it's always daunting trying to ask questions in a big group chat with, or in a big, kind of Zoom meeting with loads of other people.
Yeah. Will the links in the chat be emailed? Yes. Our project coordinator Aoife will add them to the email after this. Which category does dyslexia belong to? That is the specific learning difficulties that falls under. Again, you can always email them to us if you don't feel comfortable putting them in the chat now. Angelina, would you mind answering the question about for the evidence of disabilities, what happens if you don't have the physical copy?
Sure, no problem. So we actually don't, we're a paperless office, so we don't actually take in physical copies of any evidence of disability. When you're completing the application for disability support, it's all done online. So if you have photos, that's even better, because we'll be asking students to scan or take photos of their evidence of disability if they don't have it in electronic form, because we want them in electronic form. So you'll be asked to submit them there. And if anybody ever had any difficulty doing that, you can just reach out to us and we can help.
Perfect. So are students with dyspraxia able to attend the neurodivergent orientation? Yes, absolutely. The 1916 bursary. Angelina, you might have more information on this, maybe.
I missed. Oh, what is the 1916 bursary? So it's the 1916 bursary is open for first-time first-year students, and it's a form of financial support for students who meet particular priority groups. One of those groups being a disabled student. There are multiple groups that you can meet in order to be eligible for the 1916 bursary. I don't believe it's open yet. I believe it opens later in semester one, but I've posted a link in the chat to our financial supports webpage, and the 1916 bursary should be explained in more detail there if you want to have a look at that. And then if you have more questions after that, just pop us an email and we can help.
Perfect, thank you. If we're giving accommodations in the Leaving Cert, are they guaranteed to be given in exams in Trinity? So it depends on what the exam accommodations are that you would need, but I don't know if they'll be the exact same. I know we have basic ones. Angelina, you might be able to answer this better, but I don't know. It depends on what obviously your exam accommodations were for the Leaving Cert.
Yeah, basically what Sive said there is correct. It will depend on if what you received at Leaving Cert is also what we offer here. If you go onto the exam supports webpage, you'll see what's on offer here. But we would absolutely have a conversation with each student that applies for support. And if a needs assessment meeting is necessary, we can meet with you to discuss it in more detail. But mostly what you would have received for Leaving Cert is available here at Trinity. But just take a look at that webpage as well. And yes, Section C of the DARE form can be used as disability proof.
Perfect. For those asking about ADHD medication prescriptions, that's done through College Health, I believe. So that's another service that we are connected to as well, but it's more so the health service in relation to medication.
So just in relation to that accommodation query there, so students, first years are typically housed in Trinity Hall, and that application process has already taken place. So students will have been given a conditional offer based on them being offered a place in Trinity, and that process would have happened earlier in the year. You would have been notified by the accommodation office.
Yeah, perfect. If there's any other questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat.
There's no reapplication process for accommodation. So just maybe I'll explain. My name is Declan. I work with my colleagues here who've given you a really good overview. So DARE works the same as CAO. The offers are made on the same day, and so on. So if you Google DARE and Trinity, you'll see all the places that are available on each of the courses. And in any given year, like there's roughly 200 to 300 students will come in through the DARE scheme. The majority of students will come in with their points, but some students will get offers below the points, which is what the DARE scheme does. So it works the same across all of the colleges that you've applied for. So if you've applied and put Trinity up at the top of your choices, you should be in a good position to be eligible for places. So the bigger the course numbers, the higher the number of places. So courses such as BESS and medicine and so on, they're big courses. So there's a lot more places, engineering, science, and so on. Sive would have come in through the DARE scheme into BESS and specialised. Fuelan came in studying engineering. So he's gone on to do a PhD. And myself and Angelina work in the disability service, and we'll look forward to seeing you when you arrive if you're coming to Trinity. We're a very inclusive service, and we would love people to come and get support. It is a key service of the college, and our job is to support you. So hopefully that all helps you today about when you get your offers. I think it's the 27th of August, I think is the date for the first round of CAO. So as Saib mentioned, like if you have any queries about admissions, you need to contact the academic registry. We don't have anything to do with the offers being made. It all happens through that office. So it's academic.registry@tcd.ie is the, or ask.a or @tcd is another email address, but we'll put all the links into the slides before we send all this out again via the email.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks, Declan. I see Angelina's answering the questions in the chat as well. Thank you. If there's any more, please feel free to ask. If not, we might start to wrap it up. Again, there is askds@tcd.ie to answer any of the questions that you may have after this. But if there's no other questions, we might start to wrap it up.
Should expect to get the same service wherever you go, Charlie. Like most universities have services like ours, so you should be expecting to get the same type of support wherever you go. But hopefully you want to come to Trinity.
Okay, I think that might be everything. Again, please don't hesitate to contact us. And if anyone wants to speak specifically about the DARE experience, feel free to contact me directly. My name is Sive, and I also will get those emails from STS. Again, so we will be sending out the slides, like Declan mentioned, with the links attached to them. So don't feel pressured to open all of them right now. But thanks a million for everyone that's come, and we'll send out that email now in the afternoon.